Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Small Business Briefing sponsored by the Small Business Association of Michigan. I'm Sarah Miller, your host for today, and I'm joined by Alexa Kramer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alexa Kramer, Director of Government Operations for FSPAN.
So before we get into today's show, we want to welcome our new basic member, Carter and Associates. They're located in Southfield. Carter and Associates is in the process of becoming a certified small business. So we welcome Monique and her team. And we are able to welcome this new member on behalf of our sponsor, Marana Group. They're a data, document, and distribution company in Kalamazoo. So as we previewed on Monday's show, Alexa has spent the past couple of days in Washington, D.C. And Alexa, I'm going to turn it over to you to welcome our special guest and kind of give us an overview about what you two were up to these past couple of days.
Thanks, Sarah. So like other folks might have heard on the last show, if they tuned in, I was in DC at the Business Leaders United on the Hill, or Blue on the Hill, as they like to call it, within National Skills Coalition. And so I was able to have my friend Jeran Culina with National Skills Coalition within Blue join us today to kind of talk about what we are doing in DC together. Jeran and I also worked together in previous roles. She was at Talent 2025 when I was at the Grand Rapids Chamber, so it's great to see her in this new capacity at the national level, really pushing for skills and workforce policy. So welcome, Jeran. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alexa. It's wonderful to be here today with small business owners.
Yes, absolutely. So first, just wanted to kind of get just an introduction from you. Tell me a little bit about yourself, background, and then also what you do with Blue within National Skills Coalition, and kind of give us the overall view of the organization.
Yeah, thanks so much. So my name is Jeran Culina. I'm the manager of Business Leaders United. I work remotely for the national organization, National Skills Coalition, in the state of Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids in Middleville, Michigan. So still representing the state. My background is everything from education to workforce development. Just like Alexa said, I worked at Talent 2025, working as a liaison between education and business to have conversations on statewide policy. And before I was at National Skills Coalition, I worked on statewide implementation of Perkins money for career technical education, working with Dr. Piles at the state level here in Michigan on just helping with high quality career technical education. But Business Leaders United is an initiative under National Skills Coalition. So we've been around for over 20 years as a national organization, and it really is grounded in fighting for inclusive, high quality skills training so that people can have access to a better life and that local businesses see sustained growth. And under that, we're really grounded in networks. So we have stakeholders all across the board, community colleges, workforce development boards, businesses, and then the workers themselves. And those networks really helped us develop a focus on businesses themselves and elevating the business of both small and medium-sized businesses to be able to have a common platform where a diverse group of business leaders can jointly communicate to policymakers, both at a federal level and a state level, the press, and American public about what effective industry-based strategies look like around skills training.
Thanks. So it was wonderful to be able to hang out in DC and be invited to really elevate the small business voice in this conversation too. I think some of the conversations that we were having yesterday, particularly with the Michigan delegation, is really saying, you know, when you don't have the workforce that you need, when you don't have the skills that you need, businesses feel that, and a big business might feel that if they have a few open positions or folks that aren't able to meet their skills demand. But our small businesses feel that tenfold. So it was really important to be able to elevate the small business voice. And so really appreciate the invitation to be able to do that with you. So it was kind of a day and a half conference. We were there, got there on Tuesday, and Tuesday was really just more just just traditional conference based. We had a lot of panelists, so kind of wanted to get your view on just kind of those headliners or things that you were able to really stuck with you on some of the panels that we had.
Yeah, I think we first had a kind of overview of federal policy just in the whole. What does it look like right now? What does it look like we're moving across the board? And then what are midterms going to do as far as election wise? And then what does it mean for federal dollars to come down in state implementation? And I think a big thing that we're focusing, or maybe not focusing on, but I think is what we're hearing across the board, is that digital skills and digital equity are a large piece of, as the technology is changing in businesses, how businesses can keep up with it without federal infused dollars coming down to state. And in the infrastructure bill, there is a set aside on digital equity. A lot of states are convening, well, the governor will convene a specific group, typically through the Office of Broadband, and those dollars will be designated for whatever the state thinks that they need. And business representation about that money that's coming down is so important, because we know broadband access is important, but digital skills are just as important, because we can give people the internet, but if they don't know how to use a mouse or a computer or whatever it is, or we just need them to have more skills in the workplace, we need to have some federal set aside for that, because it shouldn't just be up to small businesses to be able to upskill and reskill their workforce. So I think that's a big piece. And then being intentional about workforce partnerships. What does it mean to have sector partnerships? What does it mean to have like really good ones where businesses are really elevated to the top, not just your large scale businesses, your huge health care organizations, or your huge manufacturing businesses? What does it mean for all businesses to be represented, so that training is relevant for both small and medium-sized businesses too?
So that was a good overview. So kind of going back to the first panel that we had on kind of overall federal policy, I thought it was really interesting. So National Skills Coalition does have a government affairs arm too. So they brought in their government affairs experts to kind of talk about what they've been hearing on the Hill when it came to federal policy. And it was interesting to get their take on what they're hearing from different members of Congress too on apprenticeships, because again, apprenticeships, when we think about it, big businesses have that capacity internally sometimes to be able to have stand up an apprenticeship program quite easily, but the small businesses sometimes have a little bit of a struggle or need that additional support in order to stand up apprenticeships that we know are really important for our employees to continue to get new skills. And even the differences between how they're needing to talk about apprenticeships too. So apprenticeships to certain folks have a certain connotation, but if you talk about on-the-job training, which is apprenticeships, then it kind of sometimes goes over better with certain folks. So it was just interesting and really appreciated their perspective on that.
Yeah, and we know that the National Apprenticeship Act is a part of the U.S. competitive China bill in the House. As they go to conference, we're not certain that the Apprenticeship Act is going to stay in there, but that's always important for members to know that information, that if that's something that you're willing to be pushed forward. I think all of us at a national level wanted to stay in there. So the more that legislators hear from their constituents that the Apprenticeship Act is an important piece, well, as they go to conference, especially in the Senate side, that's the important pieces of having Gary Peters and Debbie Stabenow could be people on conference. And so just making sure that they're aware of the fact that you want the Apprenticeship Act in there.
Absolutely. And then the second panel that we had is really focused on, and you brought this up, the digital skills conversation, which was mind-blowing to me, because when we think about digital literacy and the issues that folks may run into in the workplace, at least my mind automatically goes to the older generation, right? Because our younger workforce has, quote unquote, grown up with the technology. It should be kind of just embedded into us, right? But we were able to hear from experts across the nation that that's just not the case. They had some really interesting statistics on what that looks like for the younger generation. Can you touch on that a bit, Jeran?
Yeah, I think there's this idea that especially younger generation, they're always on their phone, they have technology in their schools. That should be just the case, that they're really advanced in the work that's going on. And oftentimes it's like this differentiation of knowledge, like, yeah, I'm good on my phone, I know how to do social media, I'm really effective at that, but I'm not necessarily on the computer. I might not have the skills of even, wildly enough, being able to power computers or use a mouse or be able to type on a computer. And a lot of it has to do with socioeconomic status, how much is available to you, how much your schools offer to you. But it's important, I think, as you said, Alexa, to be aware that it's not like a generational thing. It's like across the board. We're going to have individuals that are going to be needing this type of thing. So again, federal investment in digital skills is going to be such a key piece.
Absolutely. And then moving on, we had the workforce panel, which was also interesting too, kind of getting different perspectives of what states are doing to really be able to have really strong workforce boards and have really strong partnerships with businesses, both large and small. And I was just kind of one takeaway, and I wrote it down because it was just such an interesting note that they had talked about, is with some really impressive workforce boards across the nation. They have like this mantra of how they operate and how they connect with businesses. And it's ABC, a job, better job, career. And I think that was just like, that they have to meet folks where they're at. So if you're unemployed and you're looking for a job, and that could be anything, we have you here. And then if you're looking to upskill, you're here. And or if you're looking for a full-fledged career, we have you here. So they have that mantra that kind of carries them. I thought that was really interesting. Do you have any specific takeaways from that panel?
I think it's just like the connection back to businesses. And I think what you're saying is so important as far as like career pathwaying all of these individuals in there. Like, how do you get somebody in and then continue to keep them in like this lifelong education system, whatever that looks like for that individual. So you're right. We often hear that workforce boards are tricky because they're not consistent across the board. So it's always important for us to continue to elevate the importance of consistency in whatever fashion that looks like. We know counties don't look the same, so they shouldn't be doing the exact same thing. But what does it look like to be able to elevate them to a promising practice, whatever that looks like, that works for that county or the people in their area?
Absolutely. And having those communities kind of think about that next generation, and our small businesses think about that next generation too, from the community perspective. I know there was I think it was Indianapolis that had a really great youth engagement solution where they're meeting students where they're at. And these are students, young adults that aren't necessarily tracked through the educational system. These are folks that have dropped out at some point, either middle school or high school. And so it's really hard to get them engaged. And so they're kind of leaning on more sports in certain communities and basketball courts or whether that's a football field but kind of getting them connected that way and saying, hey, here are some opportunities, and really meeting them where they're at, kind of innovative ways. And I think that is something that small businesses, again, getting kind of close to home, having that community perspective is something that really resonated with me too. So that was kind of the first day, and it was really awesome. I took a ton of notes, as I am known to do. The second day was a lot of meetings on the Hill, which was really awesome. I appreciate, Jeran, you and your team kind of scheduling all those meetings that we had, but we were able to meet with Michigan delegation on all of these issues. And so just wanted to kind of get your takeaways from the overall day, maybe any meetings in particular that we had that really stuck out, and then also some of the stuff that National Skills Coalition, Business Leaders United, we're specifically talking about as far as legislation.
Yeah, so we had 50 4 meetings in total over 19 states. So it's all speaking the same language of skills training and investment in skills training. So that was like a big piece for us. I think we were hearing, I think across the board, we were hearing from legislators or staffers that this is a priority for them, that they're hearing from their constituents that there's a skills mismatch and funding needs to come down so that they aren't taking the burden on as small and medium-sized businesses. So I think we were happy to hear that that's a priority. I mean, we're also in this, that we also are in an election cycle, so we have to be cognizant of the fact that individuals really need to be hearing from their constituents and be putting in place those priorities too. So I think we're focusing on 4 pieces of really like specific legislation. The first being the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, or WIOA as we call it. Since 2001, we've seen a disinvestment in workforce development and training. And so we're really trying to get back to at least the 2001 level of investment. And so we're pushing on a lot of different pieces of WIOA, but the big thing is increased funding for it. And really there's some key pieces that we've heard from also businesses that need to be added in there too. So we're focusing on what does the reauthorization look like? And the House has already marked it up. So we know that they're advanced and they're going to push it to the Senate. We're just not sure where it's going to land after that. The other 2 are kind of key pieces of grant making. So Access to Careers Act, which is more of an institutional grant. So typically your colleges will be getting something like that if that would pass. And that was looking at not just skills training, but the supportive services that encompass that too. So your childcare, your housing, and your transportation. And then the Partners Act, which is specifically for like your intermediaries or your workforce boards, that would do very similar stuff, support upskilling and reskilling and provide dollars for that. And then also provide the supportive services too. So even clothes, food, transportations, and childcare subsidies. And the last one that we think actually has some very strong momentum and was also added on to the House side's China bill that it's called the Jobs Act. And for anybody that hasn't heard about it, it's expanding the Pell Grants to include more short-term Pell programs. So anything that's as little as 150 clock hours, and it could be as short as 8 weeks. And we know that especially right now, short-term programming, if it's not covered by federal assistance or your FAFSA, when you complete that, it's just too hard for people to be paying that out of pocket. So the Jobs Act would allow for this to be covered under the Pell Grant, which would offer so many more people the opportunity to upskill and reskill, especially when you're talking your small businesses and the individuals that could go through a program really quickly and come back to work or do it outside of work hours. We see that one moving through, and we see it hopefully moving in the next couple of months too. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, that quick turn, that quick training, especially for small businesses right now, that means people applying to your open positions with the skills that you need. And so that's been really huge. But yeah, it was a really great conference. I could talk all day about workforce development and the skills policy that we covered too. I just think that it's so important from SBM's perspective. We know that talent, we hear it from you guys all the time, that talent is the biggest issue, needing the right people with the right skills. And I think that the state level is certainly where we can hone in, and I think that we've traditionally done that. But I'm hoping for the future to kind of expand our federal focus on this too. Really kind of making sure that the federal government is investing, but then also creating a really great environment for Michigan to do what it needs to do, and for our small businesses to get the folks that they need. And National Skills Coalition and Business Leaders United have done such an amazing job. I think they're wonderful partners to have. So look forward to continuing to work with you, Jeran, on this really important front. But do you have any last kind of words of wisdom for our small business owners from a workforce perspective or from a national skills perspective?
So we at National Skills Coalition call small businesses the backbone of the economy, just like probably a lot of people do. And that's why we had an intentional focus on small to medium-sized businesses when we started this initiative called Business Leaders United, because we knew voices of small businesses needed to be elevated to a federal level in some capacity that works for them. We know you guys are there was a hard hit pandemic, and you are continuing to invest in your workforce throughout everything. And so we want to be able to also give back in some kind of fashion of offering this opportunity to really elevate your voice too. So the things that are done at SBM, we are also very supportive of everything that happens here and the statewide implementation of everything. So anything that we can offer assistance on, we're definitely going to be hopefully great partners with Alexa, because I already know her, and hopefully in the future too.
Absolutely. And we'll be taking you up on that for sure. Thank you, Jeran. I really appreciate your time, and I'll be talking to you very soon.
Yes, thanks, Jeran, and thanks, Alexa, for spending some time and sharing what you two were up to these past couple of days in DC. So speaking of DC, the news came out this week that longtime Congressman Fred Upton has announced his retirement. He will not be seeking re-election this year. And I'm from Southwest Michigan, so I think that I have heard the name Fred Upton for practically my entire life. He's been serving since 1987. So what does this mean for the upcoming election?
Yeah, and what an amazing run Representative Upton has had. He's one of the longest tenured Republicans in the House. He goes back to the Reagan administration. So he's just been such a pillar in DC and for Michigan for so long. So Congressman Upton's current district is based in Kalamazoo, kind of stretches along the Michigan-Indiana border, the southwest part of our state. With redistricting, however, the new congressional map places 8 incumbents in the same district, their hometowns in the same district. And so it's been kind of a whirlwind from the congressional side. So with the new map, District 3, the Grand Rapids area, that would extend into Muskegon, into Grand Haven, and District 4, new District 4, would start in St. Joseph Township and kind of go north towards Port Sheldon Township. So in this new 4th district, Upton and Congressman Bill Huizenga kind of were drawn together. And there's been speculation of the retirement, and he did just confirm that earlier this week. And I got the privilege actually to see him in his DC office yesterday while I was with Jeran on the trip, and get to talk to him about workforce policy, and got a great picture on his balcony too, which I'm sure I'll be sharing out soon. I can't say enough good things about Fred. I think that he is just the pinnacle of civility, which is so needed, and he's been a tremendous friend to the Small Business Association of Michigan too. I know him and Brian are long friends too, and I think that his quote on the House floor really summed it up. Even the best stories have a last chapter. So what does this mean for the future and the new 4th district? The new 4th district, it was drawn as a 54% Republican district, and Upton retiring really did clear the way for Congressman Bill Huizenga in the 4th. So former President Trump did endorse our current state legislator, Steve Carra, for the 4th. And then he revoked that endorsement, handed it to Congressman Huizenga. And so with that change, and with Upton leaving, Steve Carra also backed out too. So as of today, April 7th, it's a pretty wide open field for Congressman Huizenga.
All right. And while we're on the subject of elections, there's some new national polling numbers that are out. What are we learning?
Yeah. So on Monday, I kind of talked about what we were hearing around the governor's office on kind of that state election perspective, and now a national poll just came out too. So wanted to kind of touch on that. I don't think it's a crazy surprise to any of us that President Biden's numbers aren't spectacular. This latest national poll really emphasized that his negative job rating is at 38 to 53% negative, with 9% undecided. And then when asked if he has good leadership skills, 57% answered no. So while we can expect those numbers to have effects on the rest of the tickets, right? This new poll, which I thought was interesting, suggests that we may not see this huge red wave that most folks are anticipating, or that it might not be as large as we're anticipating too. So the poll also asked respondents which party should be in control of both the U.S. House, and they asked which party should be in control of the U.S. Senate. And both questions were statistically too close to call, was really just too close. And when it came to the congressional polling questions, 58% rejected the Democrats, while 35% supported them, 61% rejecting the GOP congressional members, while 29% supporting them. So I thought that it was just interesting. Again, polls, it's fairly early, polls can change, but I think that it's really interesting to kind of start looking at that national polling numbers and kind of see that Biden's numbers, as we expected to have some effects on the ticket, it might not be this huge red wave that maybe some folks are expecting.
All right. Let's switch gears here a little bit, Alexa, and talk about childcare. We know that access to high quality, affordable childcare is crucial for our small businesses so that their team members can get to work, right? Those of us with children know how crucial it is to make sure that you have reliable childcare. And there was a recent report out from Goldman Sachs. Can you share a little bit about that report?
Sure. So Goldman Sachs' latest report, titled "From Pandemic to Prosperity," just came out late last month. It found that in order to help our small businesses recover, policymakers should focus on really 4 key areas. First being access to capital, second, workforce and competitiveness, third is government contracting, and finally, childcare. And we've been saying it for a long time. I know childcare has been a huge SBM legislative priority, and we've really played some key roles in childcare here in Michigan within the past few years. One of them being standing up the nation-leading TriShare pilot program. TriShare is, just like it sounds, split the cost of childcare between the state of Michigan, employers and employees, to make childcare a little bit more affordable and also be a really great attraction and retention tool for employers too. And so this particular report, Goldman Sachs report, suggested that federal policy members should enhance existing childcare policy programs with small businesses in mind. Because there's a lot of things that they have to keep in mind when you're thinking about small businesses. So recognizing that a lot of small businesses can't participate in some of the programs out there because of insufficient awareness, high costs, and market gaps. And I think this ties really well into kind of the work that we've done around TriShare and standing up that program and really forming it and crafting it in a way that is keen to how we can help small businesses. So the way that TriShare is set up is having that facilitator hub model that our small businesses would be able to really rely on to connect them to childcare providers, and having that person or having that entity kind of being that liaison is really helpful for small businesses. And we've seen it work out for small businesses. Some early data showing from TriShare that it's accessible to small businesses too. It's not just our large companies participating in TriShare, it's all industry types and all size of business participating too. So that's been really great to see. I always like highlighting reports on small businesses that kind of tie into some of our priorities.
Absolutely. Before we go today, I wanted to take a minute to congratulate the winners of the Michigan Celebrate Small Business Awards program. So there's several different categories of awards that are going to be handed out on May 3rd. Michigan 50 companies to watch in particular, as well as some SBDC Best Small Business Awards. SBM has 22 members who are going to be honored at this gala on May 3rd, and we're very proud of all of the winners. But I just wanted to highlight the economic impact that these members, that these small businesses have. So of all the 50 companies to watch award winners, in 2021, they generated over $350 million in total revenue. They employ over 1,400 full-time equivalent employees, and they're projecting 522 net new jobs this year. So we've shared the graphic of the winners, and maybe we can get that dropped into the comments as well, or you can visit michigancelebrates.org. But I just want to congratulate all the winners. We look forward to celebrating with them on May 3rd. And if you are interested in celebrating with them as well, you can check out the gala tickets at michigancelebrates.org. So that is all we have for you today. We'll be back here on Monday. Brian will have a full Data Monday report for everyone. Have a great rest of the week.